Hi. So it looks like the American election has swung in Biden's favour through the postal vote, which was obviously mostly Dems, since Trump had told his own supporters not to trust the postal vote and to vote in person, and the Dems all decided not to take the chances with COVID and vote by post. So the postal vote in America this year was huge and has taken a lot longer to count, and as the votes have come in, they're in Biden's favour, and Donald Trump is accusing the Dems of cheating, of using the postal vote to cheat. So he hasn't actually got any evidence to support his suggestion that the postal vote was somehow rigged by the Dems. And in America, the post office is still nationalised. It's a nationally owned service, a nationally owned and run service, as is the postal vote itself is managed and counted by each state. It's the responsibility of the state to do that, as also they count and manage the ballots. Now, imagine if, say, the post office was privatised and mostly owned by Democrats. Wealthy Democrats had most of the shares in the post office. Imagine if wealthy Democrats were given the contract, a private contract, to manage and count the postal vote. Well, he might have a leg to stand on there. Imagine if COVID-19 had not happened at all, and suddenly the postal vote doubled that year and gave the Dems a landslide win. Right? Imagine. Then Trump might have a leg to stand on. Can you imagine what Trump supporters would be doing with such evidence that basically Democrats own the post office, they own most of the shares in the newly privatised post office that they've actually privatised. They actually own the companies, have direct connections to the companies that are owned by Democrats that manage and run the postal vote, and with no pandemic whatsoever, the postal vote inexplicably doubles. Yeah, there would be a lot of questions. Well, you know, it just so happens, as I've shared so many times now, that is exactly what happened in Britain, okay, in 2019. Everything I've just stated is exactly the circumstance for Britain, when the Tories, as far as the evidence tells us, supports lawful suspicion that the Tories gave themselves a landslide win through the postal vote. Directly. It's the postal vote that gave them their landslide win. And it can be proven, you know. Ricky Coxon here has broken it all down. All these seats were swung to a Tory win by the postal vote. And who managed and counted the postal vote? Tory companies with direct links to Tories. Who knew the results of the postal vote days before the election? Dominic Raab and Laura Kussenberg from the BBC. Who managed and run the postal vote? IDOX and its offshoot Hallarose, all connected to Peter Lilly, Tory MP for Hitchin. Okay, self-confessed bastard, it says here. Directly connected to tax havens, probably got huge bets on the economy as well, to crash the pound. He'll get rich as the pound in our pockets fall. All these were counting the postal vote. A postal vote that inexplicably doubled in 2019. Okay, look, I'll check it for yourself. You see, that's 2015, 2017, 2019. No COVID. There was no COVID. This was 2019, December 2019. No COVID. What explanation do we have for the fact that the postal vote suddenly doubles in 2019 when 2 years before, look, 2017? You see, that's evidence. That's reason to ask questions. And that is why I've created this petition, and it's time people started signing it in thousands, if not our millions, because we want this to go to the Supreme Court, and we wish to challenge, we do need to legally challenge the validity of this government. Okay, because, I'm sorry, when a government owns the post office, that people directly connected to this government have shares in the post office that this government privatised, right? When this government failed to put out to tender the contract for managing and counting the postal vote and instead handed it to their crony corporations like IDOX and its offshoot company Hallerose, which, by the way, immediately ceased from existing straight after the election. It basically set itself up to run the postal vote. You know, managing and counting the postal vote. Most of the constituencies, they were given the results of the postal vote by these Tory companies. Okay, they were given the results of the postal vote. They manage and count the postal vote. Surely, postal votes are kept under lock and key by the local authority, right? Right? Well, actually, no. Postal votes aren't even counted by the election counting team at the local authority. They are sent away to an outsourced company in over 90% of cases. Hallerose Limited, directly connected to IDOX, run by Peter Lilly. You couldn't make this up. But in Britain, nobody says anything. Everybody just swallows it. Straight after the election, Boris runs off. Oh, next minute, we're all on COVID, aren't we? We're all on a lockdown. We're all arguing about masks and social distancing and, you know, whether or not we should send our children to school and blah, 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 blah. And nobody's asked any questions. Jeremy Corbyn gets chucked down from the leadership. Now he looks like he's even being chucked out of the Labour Party. The Night Starmer, next minute he's leader of the Labour Party, all on the strength that Jeremy Corbyn got beat by a landslide because he's so unpopular. This was the most popular MP since Churchill. Okay, since Attlee, even than Attlee. Nobody's saying anything in Britain. All these people claim that they support democracy, they support Corbyn. And what, only 146 people can be bothered to sign this petition. I tell you, Britain's a wet blanket until Britain wakes up and faces the facts. Because, as I've said previously, we have more evidence here to support our lawful suspicion that the Tories rigged the postal vote than Blair or Bush had to justify invading Iraq. And certainly, we have a lot more evidence than Starmer has to justify suspending Jeremy Corbyn on the accusation of anti-Semitism. Okay, that's the fact of it, people. Now, you either stand up for your rights and save your democracy and challenge this government, because we want this in the Supreme Court. We need an urgent public inquiry, because these people, these criminals sitting at number 10 now, have given themselves such powers that they can literally terrorise us, commit murder, kidnap, kill, rape, torture any one of us That's the powers they've given themselves, with no trial, nothing. You're talking the death sentence without a trial. And we're just going to swallow that, you know? And then you look across the waters and there's Trump with no evidence whatsoever. All his supporters with no evidence whatsoever, slinging out the allegations. But we have the evidence. We have the evidence. Thanks to Ricky Coxon, who has compiled it all here. Why? Why has he done this? Because it's important. Our democracy is important. And this level of suspicion is intolerable. And especially when you look at the evil powers that these criminals have now given them to themselves. Because that's what happens if you give criminals powers. If they can keep profiting from their crimes will be getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where literally you've got the military knocking on the door, demanding that you have a test, next minute demanding that you submit to Bill Gates' experimental gene editing vaccine. These are serious times, people. Wake up, Britain. Wake up. Okay? You please sign and share the petition. I'll leave both these links under this video. Share them widely. Get the word out. It's time to fight back. It's not going to happen through protest. Pick up your pen. It's mightier than their swords.